1. The first proper Islamic invasion on Hind India. Reasons, causes, Hindutva hypocrisy. And victim card. Minor raids and skirmishes did happen before to subdue local pirates and pagan rajas before, but the first proper Islamic conquest began in 712 AD under Ghazi Bahadur, Muhammad bin Qasim. 2. A significant number of Muslim traders had settled in Ceylon and married local women after converting them to Islam. Those women bore Muslim children to them. After the merchants died, the King Raja of Ceylon decides to impress Caliph and get favor from Imperial Caliphate by sending those Muslim women and children with large amount of presents to Baghdad. An account of the rarities and presents sent from Serendib for the Caliph of the time. It is related that the king of Serendib sent some curiosities and presents from the Island of Pearls, in a small fleet of boats by sea, for Hajjaj. He also sent some beautiful pearls and valuable jewels, as well as some Abyssinian male and female slaves, some pretty presents, and unparalleled rarities to the capital of the Khalifa. A number of Mussulman women also went with them with the object of visiting the Kaaba, and seeing the capital city. 3. Ship is overtaken by storm when it reaches Kazran. Hindus of Nagamra tribe loot every wealth, enslave officers of Ceylon and take Muslim women as slave girl. Many were dishonored. A girl named Nahed from Bani Aziz tribe, who was of tall stature and fair skin, escaped from the pirates and writes a letter of Hajjaj, a governor of Umayyads, describing their hardships. Capital of the Khalifa. A number of Mussulman women also went with them with the object of visiting the Kaaba, and seeing the capital city of the Khalifas. When they arrived in the province of Kazran, the boat was overtaken by a storm, and drifting from the right way, floated to the coast of Dibal. Here a band of robbers, of the tribe of Nagamra, who were residents of Dibal, seized all the 8 boats, took possession of the rich silken cloths they contained, captured the men and women, and carried away all the valuable property and jewels. The officers of the king of Serendib and the women informed them that the property was intended for the Khalifa then regnant, but they paid no heed and said, "If there is anyone to hear your complaint, and to help you, purchase your liberty." Then they all cried with one voice, "O Hajjaj, O Ijah, hear us and help us." The woman who first uttered that cry belonged to the family of Bani Aziz. Wasada Sadi states that when Dibal was conquered he had occasion to see that woman, who was fair-skinned and of tall stature. The merchants, who were in the boats, were brought to Dibal, and the people who had fled from the boats came to Hajjaj and informed him of what had happened. "The Mussulman women," said they, "are detained at Dibal and they cry out, 'O Hajjaj, O Hajjaj, hear us, help us.'" When Hajjaj heard this, he said, as if in reply to the call of the women, "Here am I, here am I." It is also stated in a tradition about Hajjaj that, when the Mussulman women were asked what they meant by calling Hajjaj to their help, they replied, "We were in a sleep-like repose and we were disturbed in it, and so we called him to save us from the cruel and unmerciful people, who had confined us in captivity." 4. Hajjaj gets hyper-emotional and says, "Here am I, here am." He then sends letter to Raja Tahir, who has married his own sister, to send back all women and children and wealth belonging to Caliphate. Raja Tahir makes excuses, and informed him of what had happened. The Mussulman women, said they are detained at Dibal and they cry out, "O Hajjaj, O Hajjaj, hear us, help us." When Hajjaj heard this, he said, as if in reply to the call of the women, "Here am I, here am I." It is also stated in a tradition about Hajjaj that, when the Mussulman women were asked what they meant by calling Hajjaj to their help, they replied, "We were in a sleep-like repose and we were disturbed in it, and so we called him to save us from the cruel and unmerciful people, who had confined us in captivity." Hajjaj sends a messenger to the infidel Dahar. Hajjaj now sent a messenger to Dahar, and addressed a letter to Muhammad Harun, in which he said, "Send a trustworthy officer along with this messenger to Dahar to tell him to set the Mussulman women at liberty, and to return the presents intended for the capital of the Khalifas. He should also learn all about the women." Hajjaj wrote also a letter to Dahar and signed it with his own blessed hand, and gave it to the messenger. In that letter he couched many threats in very strong terms. When that letter reached Anar, Wazil, who was the secretary of Dahar son of Chuk, read it out. Dahar heard the message that had been sent to him, and in reply he said, "That is the work of a band of robbers than whom none is more powerful. They do not even care for us." 5. After Rajadahad makes excuses, Hajjaj gets permission from Umayyads to invade Sindh. He sends his 15 to 17-year-old nephew with an army. The Braveheart Bahadur Ghazi defeats Raja and thus, first foundation of Indian Muslim rule is established. Here are sources that the devout Hindu Raja King Tahir married his own sister, intermeddle with or share their sovereignty. When a king retires from his kingdom, he becomes reduced to equality with the common people, and, as the astrologer has thus directed, you ought to marry your sister and seat her with you on the throne. Though you shall have to abstain from her conjugal society, she will still be called your wedded wife, and the kingdom will, thus, remain with you." Dahar called to him those 500 Thakurs, who were, now, among his chief and confidential men, and said, "In all matters I repose full trust and confidence in your ability and bravery, and I cannot do without your counsel and advice, and my orders are executed, throughout my territories, with your help." Astrologers have now predicted that the Princess Bay shall never go to any other place from this fort, and that he shall be her husband, who shall retain this country in his possession for a long time. It is not meet. First you abducted Muslim women and children, and when Muslim retaliated, you are still crying and playing victim card?